Morning YouTube, quick video here on the 19 Brute Force. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what we got on here. First time you guys seen this bike, I talked about these tires. These are the 30-inch 30 by 10 Cst Sludge Hammers. Originally I got these tires because I wanted something that wasn't going to be hard on drivetrain, something that would spin. If I could do it again, I'd definitely go with a shoulder lug. These here don't really have a shoulder lug on them. Kind of round off. Now, don't get me wrong, these tires perform pretty well all around. They slide around pretty good on dry hard pack. The softs, mud, sod, they do grip up real good. But in the real sloppy shit, they don't really have the shoulder lug to paddle through. I got a 2-inch lift on this bike with 1.5 inch wheel spacers all the way around. Obviously got the back seat, the fender guards. Got a clutch kit. It's a Dalton Clutch Kit. I have a video on that. We got the Rad Relocate. It's a high lifter kit. It was nice to work with. Obviously a few little details, like get these bolts here cut off. That's the hack job on the fender in there. Tried to keep everything as nice and tidy as possible. Try and not make the holes any bigger than they had to be. But they do go down through your plastic, so there is cutting involved. Wasn't too big of an issue to get the rad out of there. There was a few bolts, I think they were up in here somewhere, kind of hidden, that I had to play around with. But anyway, there's something interesting to note right there. There's that bar on that 2-inch bracket lift, and you can actually see it has a bit of a bend to it. That's probably from jumping it, doing wheelies and bringing it down real hard. I mean, obviously that's not a whole lot of steel, though it is relatively thick. That's still not a whole lot of steel there to take that kind of abuse, and you can see clearly it's bent. Now I'm just seeing that for the first time here, but at the same time, not super surprised about it. I'm definitely not going to drive it any easier because I noticed that's for sure. Like I say, the high lifter kit, it's a decent kit, but there's a few things that, you know, aren't super pretty about it. We got the good old Canadian Tire 3,000 pound Champion winch. I got my controller right up front here where it can catch all the crap, although I haven't had any issues there. I had one axle break on this bike so far. I don't think it was due to the tires. The reason I say that is because it was right after I put the tires on, and I got about 2,600 kilometers with these tires since I put this axle in, and I replaced it with a Demon heavy duty axle from Kawasaki in Elmsdale. Shout out to them. And that was the only axle that I've really had to replace, and I had to replace this wheel bearing here, but if I had to guess, it's probably related to me doing that axle and not torquing that nut all the way, just because all the other wheel bearings are super tight, no play in them at all. It's quite a bit different than a Polaris. I mean, when I had my Polaris, it felt sloppy all the way around right from brand new, and you put brand new parts on it and it still felt like there was play and everything. Now this bike here is a lot bigger bike, and I drive it a lot harder than I drove that other Polaris. It was a smaller bike, but nonetheless, still a lot of play and mechanical parts, seemed like. And I've done tie rod on this bike. That's what all balls would call heavy duty. I'm gonna give it a chance. I don't generally like using all ball stuff, but sometimes the convenience of Kawasaki just being right up the road sometimes I'll put that stuff in there, but we'll see how that heavy duty Kimpex holds up. And if it doesn't hold up, then I'll be going back with a factory inner and outer tie rod. But that was a whole inner and outer kit, and I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't a whole lot. I used a factory wheel bearing in here. That was from Churro Motorsports. I think the retail on it was like 75 bucks or something like that. Kimpex ones were 40, or all balls, sorry, was 40 bucks. But I definitely don't feel like doing it again in the fall, so go with a factory one there and we'll see how it holds up. So altogether, that one axle wheel bearing, probably related to the axle not torquing that axle nut down correctly. I'm assuming is probably why it cooked that bearing. And tie rods. That's the only maintenance I've had to do to this bike besides change the oil. Let's see what's on here for kilometers. We're at 3750. Not too bad. I always use AMS oil on this bike. Seems to be pretty much on point there. It was going down like just a touch, and I'd probably put, I don't know, maybe 1/10 of a liter of Lucas in it with the 040 AMS oil. And she sees some trail, that's for sure. It's not just all mud. There's lots of times where we're cruising along 95 to 100, you know, either down asphalt or down dirt roads trying to get to the next trail. And it runs along just fine, no issues. I got some halos coming for it, and these foot pegs here inside the footwell that Kawasaki sends these with, man, those things they're just too shallow. I mean, go ahead and put my flip-flop in there. I mean, my flip-flop just about has the same friggin' grip that those have, so you get any little bit of slush, snow, sand, silt, anything in there, and you know, the next embankment you come to where you're on a bit of an angle, you're sliding right out to this lip. It's just a pain in the arse. So I had a 800 Renegade back a few years ago, and it had really nice grips down here, so I'm gonna replace those with not factory Can-Am Renegade ones, but Fire Mudding has some that they offer, and they call them universal. So whether have to drill a few holes or whatever the case be, no big deal. But at least, you know, in the winter time, I'll still have a bit of grip there until the snow builds up too bad. Other than that, I think she's a pretty solid unit. Of course, it could always be bigger in the old CC department, but great bike, no complaints. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, have a great day.